Hello, in this short video I will focus on the functionality and features of the new EDAP Ease Graph Editor. It is integrated in Tween Manager panel and can be triggered by pressing this button. If we select one frame, even if there's no tween there, the frame span will be converted to a tween and the Ease Graph Editor will be called. This is how it looks like. It's a feature-rich replacement of the default Animate and Flash graph editor. Now I'll go apply and call the default graph editor just to compare it. You can see it's a much smaller window. It looks very 90s, very ugly, and it's very unpleasant to work with. You can't do overshoots in it because you're limited to this bounding box of the window. So if I edit a curve here and go save and apply, and then call EDAP Ease Graph Editor, you will see the curve is exactly the same. So we can continue editing it here. There are obviously a bunch of buttons at the top. The checkbox is the same as in the default editor. We can choose to edit all properties at once or separately, but we can also flip the curve. If we go flip, you will see this. Now, to make it easier to understand what flip does, let me make it a bit more asymmetrical. So this is how flipping works. Reset will literally reset the curve. If we press quick help, you will see all the functionality of the panel, the different controls listed here in this quick help dialog. So I'll go through all of these, but the more important ones are scroll wheeling with the mouse will zoom in and out. Fit will literally fit the view, and 1 to 1 will show 100%. We can add points by simply clicking on the curve. We move the points by dragging them with the mouse. We move the handles by dragging them with the mouse. We can lock the movement by holding down Shift, then it will be locked to either vertical or horizontal. Same applies to the movement of the points. If you hold down Control and drag a point, that will mirror the movement with the opposite point. A double click will turn the point into a sharp edge, and you can then manipulate the handles individually. So you can do this. You can delete a point by shift clicking a point and it will disappear. You can create overshoots. If you want to pan, you hold down Control and drag downward so that you can see more. If you want to zoom out, you just use the scroll wheel of the mouse, and by holding down Control, you pan the view. As I said, you add a point by just clicking on the curve. You double click the point to change its type. And now we can try to apply this and see the movement. So we go into this point and back, and then into an overshoot, and we settle. This is what this curve describes. You can move the points with the arrow keys on your keyboard, and here you can see the exact location, whether it matches a frame or not. It will eventually snap to a frame. You can zoom in quite a lot if you need to make precise adjustments to your points. What you cannot do is you cannot go back with your curves. So at this point you see how the curve highlights in red and we get this red frame. This basically means that this is not a valid ease graph, so you can't really apply such an ease graph. You need to modify it until this red frame disappears, and then you can apply it. If you want to change the type of this point, again you double click and it will become symmetrical again. If you hold down as a set control, the two control handles will move symmetrically. Hold down control to pan and then grab this point and move it. You shouldn't ever light the red frame. As long as you don't see the red frame, this is a valid graph and it can be applied to your tween. Okay, there we go. Now let's inspect one of these more complex ones. So this is a bounce graph. If we load it into the editor, we can see the various points and how they were arranged. And here is another one called elastic. So if we choose this elastic, there is actually an overshoot. You can see the overshoot here. If we try to load this graph in the default editor, you see the overshoots. You can't really see them. It's just buggy, and that really doesn't let users take full advantage of the more relaxed tween engine in Animate. In Flash, you can't go outside of the bounds, so this is adequate for Flash tweens, but it's completely inadequate for Animate tweens. Anyway, our editor is way more ergonomic, larger, more spacious, and more pleasant to use. So even in Flash, where you can't do overshoots, gives you much more control over your graphs. Let me apply just some setting and go back here. Okay, so now we can copy this one and go into individual settings mode and paste it only for rotation and say color. But for color, I'll flip it and apply. Let me just give the symbol a tint so that we can see how it differs. So see the graph for rotation. The graph for rotation goes quickly with a distinct ease toward, or preference toward, the second key, while the graph for color is the exact opposite. So we're already very close to the final rotation up to this point, but the tinting hasn't even started yet. It starts here. And as I've said, you can very easily save this as a custom ease. The fact that the properties are split is visualized here in the thumbnail by this little triangle at the top left corner. Let me check if I've covered all the interactions with the panel. I think so. This is it. We hope that you will enjoy the new EaseGraph editor.